It is Sunday, April the 8th / Monday, April the 9th, 2018. Wrestleview Live, number 33, WrestleMania 34 review time. Hi, now I'm on video. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the program. We are live on YouTube. We are on the front page of Wrestleview.com. You can find us in many places. You can listen to the audio version of this podcast. Search Wrestleview Media on SoundCloud and iTunes, or look up Wrestleview Live or Wrestleview Radio or Wrestleview on YouTube, and you can find us, and you can subscribe to us and get all of our video content. It's good to be here. We were a little late. Sorry about that. A lot going on with obviously with this day. But we're here, and I am not by myself. We have a three-man panel to break down this wonderful show tonight. First up, he is the owner and webmaster of Wrestleview.com. It is Mr. Paul Nemmer. Paul, how are you, sir? Sitting back in your chair. I'm doing great. Yeah? How's it going? You love these nights, right? It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning your time, so I bet you're loving this.
It is. It's what, 12 your time?
Going on midnight my time. I'm on Central. I'm 1 hour behind you.
Not that far behind.
No, not that far behind. First time back on the podcast since we did our 20th anniversary show / 25th anniversary of Raw. So there we go.
Back in January, yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad to be back.
Good to be back as well. And also joined by Doug Lackey. Douglas, it's another WrestleMania show. I remember this time last year we were complaining about how long the show was. And I don't feel that way this year. Maybe.
No, we adequately prepared.
We did prepare quite a bit there. So we also have a fancy little three-man panel here, so you can see us in Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares form as we do the podcast tonight. I got a lot of people watching live, so I'm kind of surprised so many people stuck around because it's very late. I know people I got a couple messages from people already saying that they had to tap out for the night, but we appreciate you checking us out live or watching us on archive. But we're excited to be here. So I'm trying to avoid doing typical post WrestleMania. There's going to be a million wrestling podcasts. Obviously, the fact that we're putting this out on YouTube now shows a lot of people are doing what we're doing, where we break down a show. I kind of like the approach that Doug and I have taken, Paul, where we just kind of go around the table. We give we just kind of say a thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down, and then we all kind of focus on stuff we liked about the show, because I'd hate to sit here and be negative Nancy's for, an hour. But I'll start first with Paul. What did you think of overall? I mean, we of course, this is a big weekend for us on the website, but what did you think of this year's WrestleMania from New Orleans?
I think it was a great WrestleMania. I give a thumbs up overall. Lots of surprises. Even though I called the main event, but there was a lot of surprises, a lot of stuff that kind of got you going. Kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Why is it happening? Why did it do it? So overall, thumbs up.
By the way, your entire name is now sprawled over your lips. So there we go. Oh, there we go. Now Paul set up a little bit there. I was trying to get Paul to adjust his video. There he goes. Let's keep it right there. That'd be lovely. Douglas. I would say, 2 years in a row now, we didn't really, I guess I was thinking about this before we started the podcast. We were not expecting 7 hours and change last year, and now we were. So that was kind of a little heavy on my mind, not totally like ruining the show, but I knew, okay, they're definitely going to go pretty long tonight. I felt like the pacing was better, and I don't know if that's just me being overly positive because I knew it was coming versus last year where we were like, oh my God, I cannot believe they went 7 hours. How could you go 7 hours for a wrestling show? But I thought pacing wise, from the match selection to how the matches were executed to even showing video packages, I thought they did a pretty good job tonight of pacing the show.
I'm trying to remember, was Chris Jericho at last year's WrestleMania?
Yeah, he had the match with Kevin Owens, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, then I blame him.
Why do you blame him for it?
That's why it was so difficult to watch WrestleMania last year with how long it was. He wasn't on this program. It didn't feel like a long slog. I'm kidding.
I was like, why Jericho of all people? How'd you land on that one?
Well, let's go and just face facts. I mean, we went to WrestleMania. What was the match that caused everyone to go to sleep?
CM Punk versus Chris Jericho.
I mean, there have been plenty of Chris Jericho matches on pay-per-views, big pay-per-views, I will point out, that do cause us to... He is the chamomile tea of WWE pay-per-views. He lulls us to sleep. But no, I'm kidding. That's not the reason. This WrestleMania, I think, embodies what we always hope for in any professional wrestling show that we watch, regardless of what federation it is, what organization, or wherever. We always hope for the unexpected. We always hope for the unpredictable. We want to be surprised. We want to be shocked, whether it be by a return or by, oh my God, we didn't figure that person was going to win, or by a swerve or a non-swerve or stuff like that, or just something completely weird. You know, we like that feeling of unpredictability, of, you know, who knows what, because by God, we've watched it for so long. We come to expect what will happen. This was one of the better WrestleManias I can think of in probably the past 5 to 7 years. Wow. Because of that. Because seriously, I was looking at this card, and my complaint was, yeah, the card is stacked, but my God, it's so predictable. These singles matches, I know who's going to win. You know, these clusterfuck matches, these 3-ways and 4-ways, I don't care. You know, that's the only thing about it. But then when the matches themselves happen, no one anticipated a swerve to happen tonight. No one expected, by God, Lesnar to still have the title. And also, no one expected that a 10-year-old child would have a title before anyone else on the main roster really deserves one.
Yeah.
Okay. That I think this was one of the better WrestleManias in the past 5 to 7 years. And if people are complaining about it, then I don't know if they really understand what one of the core reasons of watching professional wrestling is. Being a fan, you know, it's to be shocked, to be unbridled by the unexpected.
I definitely have. I have one specific match that really stood out to me tonight, and I'll wait to save that because we're going to go around the table here. But I am intrigued by. Okay, so obviously this is the biggest show of the year. Obviously, a lot more eyeballs are on a show like this. Paul, you mentioned we set another traffic record for Wrestleview tonight. I'm looking at our Twitter right now, and we already have a little over 300 votes in it, and the show's barely been done for about 15 minutes now. Overwhelmingly 51% thumbs up, 38% thumbs in the middle. So it looks like it's a fairly positive response to the show so far. Obviously, that's going to change. Maybe that changes by the time we check back in at the end of the podcast tonight. But it seems like a fairly positive response to the show. I kind of want to obviously go around let's go around the table first, and then we can kind of hit some key points of the show. But Doug, what was a few things that really stuck out to you tonight that made you really enjoy the show? Very, very positive things. Obviously, it's easy to sit here and talk about what you hated because that's what most people with a wrestling podcast would rather do. They like to misery loves company. But anything in particular that really stood out to you tonight that you liked?
I think probably the one thing that stood out the most to me, and again, it's with the unexpected and, you know, the non-predictability of it all, is, and I know this is probably on your mind too, I don't like calling matches of the night when it comes to WrestleMania because every single match is big. It's the biggest, you know, show of the entire year. But my God, no one expected the mixed tag match to be so entertaining. No one. I did not expect to be laughing during this match. It was just so much fun to watch. No one expected, everyone was expecting the worst out of Ronda Rousey. Everyone was just expecting Triple H and Kurt Angle to be doing the whole thing, and, you know, Stephanie being mean and Stephanie, and they do one move and that might be it, or maybe 2 or 3 moves. Who would have thought that Ronda could sell? Who would have thought that Ronda, you know, learned some lessons or something from taking a table bump? By God, Triple H is just entertaining as all hell. Don't even think about a shovel that he might have. By God, just enjoy life and enjoy this match. That match in particular to me just encapsulated all of WrestleMania right there. Is that, yeah, the result is predictable, but not that match. That was so much fun. That's a match that I could bring anyone in who is not a wrestling fan and just introduce them to it and just go, look, you know the name Ronda Rousey. You may be familiar with Kurt Angle. And let me tell you, Triple H and Stephanie, they are horrible, evil people that control this company. And this match is happening. Okay. the horrible people that control everything are going against the people who just, they're signed by them, but they're trying to get back at their bosses. That's all you got to tell them. And they'll understand who Ronda Rousey is. I can't believe you would have to give backstory on that. But it was just fun. It's just a fun match. There were no stupid belts involved. There's no, where are they placed on the mid card or anything like that. It's just enjoying the show, And that right after that match, I was in a good mood. I was like, okay, maybe this WrestleMania ain't gonna be so bad. Maybe I don't have to go and have 4 or 5 beers for the show. I'm actually only on my second.
Nice.
It was a fun, sober night for once.
Anything, I know, Paul, you were very amped to tell us that you called the main event, so I don't know if that made you excited that you predicted that, but was there anything from, just casually sitting there watching the show? I know it was a long show, 2-hour pre-show, and then the main show went a little over 4 hours, but anything that kind of stood out to you that you enjoyed?
Charlotte Flair against Asuka.
Really?
Honestly, I think it was a hell of a match. I was watching it with my brother, with one of my friends. We're sitting there like, man, this is amazing. This match is actually really good. I don't know about you guys, but I think that was one of the best matches of the night. One of the best matches of the night. And I agree with Doug. The most entertaining match was the Triple H Stephanie against Angle and Ronda Rousey. That match was just pure entertainment. It was predictable, as Doug said, but nobody cared about that. We had fun watching it. It was a lot of fun, and I wish they could have had like maybe 2 other matches like that on the card in terms of entertainment.
Yeah, I think I have to eat crow a little bit with you guys. Doug, if you remember last night when we did the show after TakeOver, we were talking about the card tonight, and just kind of, for some reason I zeroed in on Ronda Rousey and Triple H, and I kind of thought it was going to stink. And I got that impression because of how Ronda has been on television. At times, her promo skills are really good, and then at other times, it's very cringy. Some of the physicality stuff she would do, like the judo toss, would look great, and then she would do something super awkward in the ring with Stephanie, and I would kind of second guess myself. I would have these moments where I would watch her work out at the Performance Center and go, wow, it looks like she's really picking this up, and then I would see something on television and kind of think to myself, ooh, maybe not. Maybe this is a little too soon to be sticking her in the ring. But what good dance partners she had tonight. Especially, I was the most surprised by Stephanie, how good she was tonight. And just like the mannerisms and her screaming and her facial expressions. And Ronda had these moments where she was jumping out of the ring and she was like talking shit at Triple H and the referee. And I was like, wow, she's really not trying to be like Ronda Rousey playing a wrestler. She was just kind of being very organic and very genuine and normal. And that to me, and I know you said you didn't like to do match of the night stuff, but I thought this was by far the best thing on the entire show tonight. And I thought last night it was going to be the worst thing on the show. So I was really surprised at how well it came off tonight. I still have that same question about like, okay, now we've gotten past this big WrestleMania moment with Ronda. Does that mean, is she going to be trying to compete for a title? Is she going to be on, obviously she's going to be on Raw exclusively. So that's kind of the path they're going to take with her. But wow, I was really surprised at how well that match came off tonight. So that one really stuck out to me the most. And then I was trying to think of like, something else. Paul mentioned Charlotte and Asuka. I think the fact that Asuka lost was kind of stuck out to me. I was like, wow, they really did decide to pull the trigger on that one. But really I'm just kind of scanning the card here. I have to say the highlight of the night for me was Ronda Rousey. And I was totally wrong last night. I thought it was going to stink. So that goes to show how, in your mind, you already kind of, I don't know if I pre-booked it in my mind that way, but I definitely had this impression like, oof, it's been kind of rough with her. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. By the way, if you have hot takes, toss in the hot takes right now for us in the chat room, because we'll read out some hot takes, because I see we have a ton of people in the chat, and I was going to scroll up and start reading some of the things you're saying, but that would take a long time. So if you got some hot takes about the show tonight, toss them out there, and we'll read them on the air tonight. So now that we've all kind of zeroed in on one thing that really stuck out to us, I kind of want to talk about the main event because that's generally the thing that people think about the most, the way you would close a show. I saw, by the way, I want to see if I can bring up this Twitter feed. I saw this Twitter account. It didn't have very many followers, so I'm probably giving it a little too much attention than it needs. But
must have been mine.
You're getting there, Paul. You're working on it. Give Paul a follow. He's at Paul Nemmer on Twitter. So I'll put it up on the screen here. There was this Twitter account called WrestleMania 34 Walkout. They were basically petitioning that if AJ and Shinsuke did not close the show tonight, that they were going to... Now, look at this. Would you rather have the main event of WrestleMania be a match of the year candidate? They were already donning this match of the year before it even started. So this is the one aspect of wrestling. Now, granted, I'm not acting like this is the representation of all wrestling fans. Now, go look, they're using the "this is awful" chant during the main event of Lesnar and Reigns. See, I told you. But I have to say, though, when I was more interested in the post-match antics of Shinsuke and AJ than I was of the actual match itself. And I figure we can kind of talk about that match a little bit and how it compared with how they closed the show, because there was a lot of people having this question of like, are they going to close the show with AJ and Shinsuke? Or are they going to close the show with Roman and Brock? And then it became very apparent to me, especially in a lot of the advertising, that they were going to close the show with Brock and Roman. But Paul, you were mentioning before we got on the air that you thought the main event was predictable to you, whereas a lot of people that I was watching interviews and YouTube videos thought the actual direct opposite of you because of the fact that Paul Heyman went and did some media. Dana White goes on Fox Sports and confirms that Brock Lesnar is going to return to the company as a heavyweight at some point. Obviously, he has to re-enter the USADA pool, which he was suspended under back in 2016. But you thought it was predictable. I saw people saying that it was predictable in the other way, that they thought Roman was just going to win. So what led you to that conclusion tonight, despite all the news and everything that made the rounds?
Well, it was basically what you just mentioned. The fact that Paul Heyman went on and said, that he's interested in going back to the UFC. Dana White comes out and says Brock Lesnar wants to come back to the UFC. It was so like, okay, why are you guys saying that now? And why is Heyman saying it so publicly like that? So it kind of made me think, like, wait a minute, it's so predictable. And Lesnar's contract is up or almost up kind of thing. So you have Heyman saying something, White saying something, and his contract's coming up. So everybody's like, okay, well, this is like a no-brainer. He's going to drop the belt in Mania. So it was too easy. And the fact that they were in the main event proved that Lesnar was going to win, because if Roman Reigns was going to win the title, not many cheers. They would have put that in the semi-main event, and they would have put AJ Styles and Nakamura in the main event. That's what I think anyway.
Douglas, any thoughts on, the fact that that stuff was in the news? And I definitely saw more than one video, people going like, oh, they're just totally giving away the finish of the main event because of all this stuff that Dana White and Paul Heyman are saying in the media. Did any of that cross your mind before tonight, or was that just kind of a non-factor for you?
Oh, it was an incredible non-factor to me, because let's go and face facts here. Some people who are watching WrestleMania tonight did not read that. Okay, don't get those sources, are not on the internets for as long of a period of time as we may be. So it doesn't matter about any of that stuff. It doesn't matter where Dana White or Paul Heyman or whoever said what, where they were. A majority of people who are going to watch the show did not hear what they said.
Really?
Yes, really.
See, I don't buy that for a second, because
incredibly difficult to believe.
I don't buy that for a second, because I'm on the internet, and the internet, I now have no television, I have no cable, I have no satellite or cable, and it's super easy to see news now. About 80% of all traffic is on this thing I'm holding called a smartphone. I don't buy that for a second that people didn't see what Dana White said about Brock Lesnar. The same way I didn't at the time. And I get where you're going with this, Doug. I remember in 2004, was that WrestleMania 20? I want to say was it 04? When Brock was about to have his final match against Goldberg. And all of a sudden, that news of him leaving and wanting to get into football and get out of professional wrestling, I was under the same mindset of like, well, that's just on the internet. Yeah, there's some media outlets picking it up. And then the entire Madison Square Garden arena started a goodbye chant to both of them because they knew kind of what was going on. So I don't know if I totally buy that in 2018 when news accessibility is huge now, like it literally just arrives on my phone in a little panel on my Google Pixel without me even asking. It just pops up as a notification. Like that data away.
If over 75,000 people are willingly getting it, okay, and I mean they aren't searching for it. It just comes right to them, whether it be via an app on their phone, whether it be in newspaper or television, however the hell they get their information through whatever device it may be, analog or digital. 75,000 people getting that information sounds really incomprehensible to me. I don't see that happening, nor do I see it happening with a lot of the people that actually watch the show. I don't see how that factors into anything. What really kind of strikes me about all of this is, I mean, you gave the example of, Brock going to the NFL in 2000s and the crowd.
There was no Twitter.
About that.
Remember
there was
that.
no Twitter. There was no nothing going on then. And I totally get that. Okay. I went to Bound for Glory in Orlando.
What's
in
that?
2011. Yeah. I'm not even going to mention the company. Okay. 2011. Hulk Hogan has had 5 or 6 back surgeries for the past 8 or 9 months. And I willingly talked to about 20 people in that arena that didn't even know he had back surgery. They've got smartphones.
The thing is,
they're going to this damn show.
Hogan's had like 100 back surgeries, so it's like not news to them.
They don't know that.
And nobody cares about TNA.
That was at the show that I went to. These are people that cared about TNA, and it was part of a grand experiment that I did. Okay, seriously, it doesn't matter. People get information how they want to get information, whether they willingly get it or otherwise, and what they decipher from that information. Be that as it may, Brock Lesnar is the top bill of this entire company. We have the contract numbers to prove it. He's going to be the main event. Mm-hmm. For anyone to think that Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles are going to end this show when they appear on a television show that's on Tuesday nights, shut up.
Yeah.
Okay? Stop it. Go get back on your video game, put together the WrestleMania card you want to put on, and talk about how great a booker you are and try to get a job elsewhere. Okay, stop it. It ain't happening. Oh, and I love that walkout page. It's so great. How many people are you going to try to convince to walk out of this arena that paid well over a $150 ticket for? That they aren't going to stick around for the main event. Seriously, you have an easier time trying to convince people not to stay at McDonald's, okay? Or even just to stay at a movie theater past a Marvel movies credit roll sequence, okay? Stop it.
I think $150 is even generous. I mean, I would say what?
Yeah.
I remember what it was like $350, Paul, for the bleacher seats we had at the Allstate Arena in Chicago, like. Whew, those WrestleMania seats are not cheap. Yeah, $320. Paul remembers. $325 exactly. But that, yeah, I when I saw that, I was like, oh, are we really doing this? We're still doing the whole we're walking out thing. But I knew that was
This isn't the first time something like this has happened.
No, and I knew that was kind of a thing before the show. There was a lot of people excited about that match. You watched the match they had 2 years ago in New Japan. I'm intrigued having you had just watched that and you were kind of wondering if you were going to get the same kind of pace. But I had Mike Tedesco texting me going, oh, I'm getting some Chris Jericho CM Punk vibes with this one where there's a lot of hype about it. And then the crowd just kind of deflates. Although that was the Superdome for, I would say, the last, hour and a half of the show. They just were kind of, after Ronda Rousey and The Undertaker had their stuff, they just were kind of burnt out a little bit, and that's just kind of the unfortunate issue you're going to run into with a show this long. So I don't know what to say there, but I guess what stood out to the most to me was they pulled out the old Randy Orton trick where I want to say it was SummerSlam was a year or two ago, where Brock and Randy had the match and Brock legitimately dropped the elbow on Randy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They did that tonight. And this idea that I can't imagine having that conversation, because here's the one thing where I really draw the line in the sand, and I see Hunter in the chat right now, so he knows exactly what I'm about to say, is there's people that do not watch mixed martial arts that really don't understand how devastating an elbow like that is, that legitimately busts you open with just a quick, you have to execute it pretty accurately to do it. But I remember watching him do that against Randy and instantly going, oh, that's a real elbow. He really did that. And when he was about to unload that on Roman tonight, the crowd was starting a "This is awful" chant. The fucker got legitimately busted open, was bleeding all over the place, and that was like, can you imagine like having this like really well thought out plan of like, okay, now we're gonna have this guy juice for real, like we're gonna legitimately bust him open, and the crowd is just chanting "This is awful." So you're trying to suck this emotion out of the audience, and they're more concerned about chanting "This is awful" than trying to watch what Brock and Roman were attempting to do there towards the end. I can understand if you didn't think the match was that great, because I also wasn't, blown away by the match either. But I just can't imagine buying a ticket and chanting that when they're still not done finishing their story yet. And that was such an important part of the story, and they were just more concerned about chanting "This is awful." And that was so distracting to me. When I was trying to get it, I was like, oh, wow, he's really going for it. And they're really trying to build to this finish. And then, then the crowd just goes into business for itself. So that's...
Sources tell me Chris Jericho was at gorilla position waiting for Brock Lesnar to go crazy on his ass.
SummerSlam, yeah. I love how Jericho bought into that a couple years ago. That was very interesting that he totally bought into that whole thing. But I've been reading some mixed reviews to the main event. If you got any hot takes on the main event, let us know. I was trying to scroll up and see some hot takes that people had to say earlier. But I don't know. I had a lot of stuff on my own personal Twitter. A lot of people that don't like Brock were feeling justified by the way the reaction went down, where it was kind of a mixed reaction among the audience. And I liked the finish in that I was fully expecting them to finally pull the trigger on Roman. And it's like, wow, we're not, I mean, I know they've done this before with Roman at WrestleMania where they have, but this was kind of the gradual climb towards that again. And they just decided to go, nope, we're going to stick with Brock. Brock was not advertised to show up on Raw tomorrow night. This was supposed to be kind of his last quote unquote contracted appearance. But they to me, they pulled a fast one, but for people, I guess, that were watching, they thought it was too obvious, but not to me. I thought it was interesting that they went the Brock route, because I kind of thought, they were going to pull the trigger on Roman. Tony saying that this was the worst crowd in a decade. I don't, no. It's hard for me to say that because there was stuff that they reacted to. I think they just got a little burnt out. I mean, the Ronda thing was just so well executed that they got a little burnt out. They were super burnt out with AJ and Shinsuke, and I was I understood what they were trying to do with that match. I mean, I'm trying to, obviously a lot happened tonight, so I'm playing back. The ending was so good though, with him going like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna low blow this dude and start, kicking the shit out of him. I thought that was great. I thought that was a real interesting way, because you could have gone the typical like, let's hug and shake hands and honor and respects and all that stuff, and then to have him dropped out and just do the low blow, and then he was
fist to dick.
Exactly, fist to dick, and the reaction in the Superdome was awesome to that. Yes. It was just so awesome. So I really like that aspect of it. The match, little bit, because I remember you said, Doug, that you were curious if you were going to get the New Japan approach, because it's obviously you can't do the, we're going to work a bunch and wait for people to, golf clap at all the moves we're doing, because you can't really do that at WrestleMania. But
right,
it was just kind of that's what happens when you give labels, man. When you call something a dream match, and a lot of people don't see that other match that happened, and then you kind of set a narrative ahead of time, it's a little, you get yourself in trouble, I think. I think
it's really, really difficult when you try to amp people up for a match and you're hampered by your final two shows going into WrestleMania. Your champion can't really be active because he's hurt, but we're not going to say what the injury is. But he's just going to be there on TV, but he's not really going to be doing anything. And all he's going to really do is have witty little banter back and forth with his opponent, only to say that, it's going to be a dream match. Well, why is it a dream match? Japan. That's it. That's all they'd said. what's more is, you notice in the video package that they were showing, hyping up the match, and they're showing the cut shots between the two of AJ and Nakamura. They had a lot of shots of AJ looking really young. You know, Shinsuke's older than him, I think, or just as old, and they had no young shots of him. No, nothing. The only outside media they shots regarding this as a dream match were maybe 3 magazine covers out of Japan. That's it.
So AJ...
That shows to me how much they built this match. They were relying solely on the word Japan.
They did.
That's it.
I know.
They did nothing to build this up except put them in a tag team and have them go against, you know, Gable and Benjamin or whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything with these two. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but when it comes to building up this thing, they didn't do a contract signing. They didn't do a face-off. They did not do a, you know, one-on-one. These are my code of ethics. This is what I believe and don't believe in. This, and if I'm going to say this is what Shinsuke say would be, I'm good, you're bad. That's all he's got to say. Okay, they didn't have any back and forth between each other other than maybe 2 minutes backstage where Nakamura goes knee to face, I beat you at WrestleMania. That's all they had for this. And I don't know if that's all they could do or if they were just being lazy about it and relying upon the internet to do their homework.
AJ Styles is 40 years old and Shinsuke Nakamura is 38. So
you're telling me the only youth shots you could find are from AJ?
Yeah. Well, he was in TNA. I was surprised they had some TNA photos in there. That was interesting. But yeah, you're right.
WCW stuff in there too.
Yep, they had his brief little WCW run there. So I did find that interesting, though. That was, you're right. They just kind of said, well, you know, Japan, and we're like, oh, okay, and that was there's a lot of hype from that. I will give them credit for kind of trying to appease that audience on a really big show like WrestleMania. That was interesting that they decided to do that, but I agree. I was a little underwhelmed by it.
They could have brought up the match that they did have in New Japan without saying New Japan. They could have said, we faced each other at this time. And they don't even need the footage. They just need from their accounts, okay, their own line saying, man, I remember this match. We gave it our all. It was for a title that you held, Shinsuke, for so long that I really wanted to have. You don't have to say the specifics or I was part of the Bullet Club or, you know, you don't have to go into specifics. You can be as ambiguous about it, but describe what you did in Japan. Just don't say Japan. So what? I don't give a shit about the country you were in. What did you do there? It's like the whole Adam Cole Bebe argument that I make with him.
The Bebe, yeah. Doug's like, why do they say that after he screams his name? One thing I definitely want to talk about tonight is The Undertaker. So they took a very unique approach with this one, not having him show up on television at all. And they decided to kind of throw a swerve by having Elias walk out. I thought Elias was supposed to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, but apparently they decided to pivot him to this segment with Cena. I liked the tease because Elias has actually been getting really over with the audience and having the crowd participation, and they kind of like, they love the character because he makes fun of them, and they all kind of enjoy the fun aspect of that. He seemed to have a little problems tonight, though, with that, because I think when you set an expectation of The Undertaker, then he doesn't come out right away. I think the audience was like, oh, they better do this, and I think there was a little anger there for a second. But eventually, The Undertaker did come out tonight. They had John Cena just sitting in the front row during the kickoff show, and then they had someone run out and tell him, like a referee, and then he ran to the back. And I loved the constant, like, nah, he's not going to be here. Oh, here comes Elias. Okay, Undertaker's really not going to be here. I loved the kind of messing with the fans, but
the second referee.
The second referee, exactly. So I think the conversation, and I'm almost positive the conversation we had last year, Doug, was, okay, I think it's really time we move on from The Undertaker. And I don't know if they are ready to move on from this guy at this show. Like they just kind of almost, it's like an addiction at this point. No matter how many times they tell themselves we can book a WrestleMania without The Undertaker, they went and did this different kind of approach by having him eventually show up and basically squash John Cena, which was, I had to retweet.
Stupid.
Oh, you thought it was stupid? Well, I'll let Paul elaborate why it was stupid, then I'll get Doug's thoughts. But why was it stupid?
Well, first of all, his entrance was longer than the match.
Well,
So if you want a squash match, I guess that's the point.
That's every.
But what are they trying to do with John Cena? I'm just trying to understand. He's like, I know he's done full time officially, but I mean, this guy's still around. He still draws, in my opinion. He's worse than a mid-carder right now. Like, what are you doing with John Cena? What are you doing with John Cena? I don't get it.
What can you do with John Cena at this point? I mean, he's done just about everything. So that's
you know what? Brock Lesnar wrestles 3 times a year, and he's the champion. He's been the champion for the longest time, and I'm for keeping the strap on Brock Lesnar. Why not? Makes him more of a legitimate champion. It's like it's impossible to beat this guy. But why not? I don't know. If you want to change hands, why don't you put on John Cena and have him wrestle like 5, 6 times, 8 times a year, whatever it is. Cena's still a big draw. Cena's still the man. And I'm not a big John Cena fan, but I'm calling it. I'm telling you, this guy is still there, and they can use him to his highest capacity. And they're not. He's a mid-carder. He's worse than anybody on the roster. Like, what? I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know what they're doing with him, and I think it's stupid.
Doug, thoughts?
What's the definition of bad when it comes to what John Cena is doing?
He's, I mean,
what is he doing that obviously is just so god awful?
Not him. The way he's. I mean, this guy he's jobbing left and right. Like he's not. It's not even.
He's been on TV for the past 4 or 5 weeks, egging on a story to get you intrigued to watch WrestleMania. Okay. Were you intrigued about why he was sitting in the 5th row at WrestleMania and why the cameras kept looking at him and he's sitting there like he's watching an episode of Jeopardy? Of course you were interested. You're hooked. Wait, the refs came over to him. Holy hell.
You're misunderstanding me. It's not that I'm not intrigued or interested. Yeah, it was an interesting storyline, and I might have not minded the squash tonight. It's not that. Okay. The thing is that they're doing nothing with John Cena. I mean, he's not even. I mean, if he was jobbing to put someone over, I'd understand. But he's been jobbing left and right for the last few months. Like,
but he doesn't
have a value anymore. They're really like tearing this guy down.
But he was helping people all over the roster in the last few months. I mean, that was kind of the story arc. He
was, but you can't just tear the guy down while he helps everybody. I mean, he's not at the level where Triple H is right now, where Triple H could job every day whenever he wrestles. And it's fine because, he's an executive, whatever, blah, blah. John Cena is still part of the roster. He's still an active member. He's still a guy that can wrestle many times a year.
I view him totally differently. I view him as a kind of Brock Lesnar attraction now because he's not on television every week. If he does do house shows, it's in very select cities and towns now. It's kind of a big deal if John Cena wrestles at a live event. It's a big deal when he has a match on television. It's a big deal when he's trying to get involved in some kind of storyline, whether it's on Raw or SmackDown because he's a free agent. I thought that was kind of the seed they were planting by saying he's a free agent, that he was going to go between both shows and kind of determine his own fate. And if anything, the story arc this year was that no matter what he did, it didn't work out. So he got super desperate and had to challenge The Undertaker, who we all thought was essentially retired. I mean, I know he showed up at the Raw anniversary show, but for the most part, he had been retired. So that was kind of the story, because this was think about how many times they've wanted to book Cena Undertaker, and they just said, we'll do it later. Like they just kept, that was always penciled in as an idea for many, many years. And they just never did it. Thank you to Gregory, by the way, for subscribing. It was always penciled in as an idea, and they just could never get to it. And now they finally had this opportunity, and they went this like totally different direction where they didn't even have The Undertaker show up. I didn't mind him losing tonight, and like I retweeted Hunter because he jokes that John Cena never loses, but that's kind of the narrative with John, is that he's been losing like crazy. But does he? I guess my question for
is
Paul,
he credible? Is he still credible if Cena right now was to go on against anybody on the roster? And Cena wins, do you think no one's going to take it? I mean, he's not credible anymore, in my opinion.
I think
he tore him down. They tore his character down. He's still a big draw. He's still entertaining. He's still John Cena. But it's just like, okay, well, I don't care. He won. He didn't win. It's like, it doesn't mean shit anymore.
You don't think beating John Cena is a big deal for a talent? So like
today, no.
Oh, I think it's a huge deal.
Right now, we're in April. No,
I think
if you tell me 6 months ago, yeah.
I think that's
wow. I wonder how Shinsuke Nakamura feels.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
beats
Taker was beaten by Brock Lesnar, by Roman Reigns at WrestleManias, and it was a long match, great matches, and he gets squashed by the Undertaker at Mania. And so Cena's like, he can't even compare. I don't know. I just feel the whole thing is poorly written.
He was surprised by the Undertaker.
Listen, I guess it's an accumulation. It's not just about what happened today. It's what happened over the last few months.
I get what you're saying, but Jericho's kind of the same way though, where Jericho loses a lot.
But here's with respect to Jericho, you can't compare him to John Cena. Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has been jobbing for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's completely different. John Cena is John Cena. He's been their star for the last 15 years.
But that's the thing though, is like what else is there for him to do but to like help talent and lose matches and
yeah, but you make him lose matches every now and then. You don't make him lose a series of matches where the next guy that's going to beat Cena is just okay, whatever. Everybody's
but he'll beat people like he beat Finn on Raw one night. And remember when lost their collective shit that he pinned Finn in the main event. Everyone's like, why the fuck is John Cena winning? So that's the problem is like you either get the people that get pissed that he still wins now, or you have the people that are like kind of in your position where you're like, well, why does he keep losing? So it's like it's like this.
But there should be a gray zone somewhere. It's either black or white. With this guy.
No, there's no such thing as a gray zone with him.
I feel like they've hit that zone with him though. Him as a free agent and him just bouncing back and forth, and I don't have a problem with it. But I was, and I also have to say, Awesome Sauce in the chat said, just remember John Cena was drinking before his match tonight. He was having a beer at ringside tonight. I vividly remember our conversation last year, Doug, of being just like, okay, we're moving on now from Undertaker. Like, this is it. We're done. And then going like, you know what? That wasn't that bad. I didn't hate what they did tonight. It was just this different build of him just like, is he going to show up? Is he not going to? I knew he was going to show up. But I loved how they stretched it out and they just kind of kept it going. And then he showed up and, wasn't the greatest. Obviously, Undertaker's totally banged up, does not look good in the ring anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But it was, I had a smile on my face after it was done, which is kind of the obstacle or the point of it. So I don't know.
I mean, I guess, did you ever think that 3 words that you would put in one sentence would be Undertaker, WrestleMania, refreshing?
Never.
Because that's what happened. Okay. Go ahead and say that, oh my God, John Cena got squashed by The Undertaker. Well, yeah, go ahead and say that. Undertaker just squashed John Cena. How does that feel? Doesn't that feel odd, unexpected, refreshing?
Very
Holy
much.
shit, that's what we hope for in professional wrestling. Welcome to the fold. Okay, if you're angry by this match, there's something wrong.
I don't know.
Okay.
Was there? Oh wait, Paul's smiling. I don't think Paul. Where you weren't angry about it. You were just.
I wasn't angry at all.
I didn't see much. Did we observe any? Because I don't remember seeing anybody upset.
Oh no, there was more joy than anything else.
More joy that he.
There was a lot more joy that Undertaker squashed John Cena.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there was just a lot of joy out of that. And I mean, let's go and be honest too. It was really good storytelling. It was 4 or 5 weeks of Cena trying to get to WrestleMania, and then he caves in and starts bitching at the Undertaker. Why aren't you gonna face me? You're an old fart. Blah, 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 blah. And then he shows up, and then the moment finally happens that the old fart comes out, and nope, he just can't do it.
I also really liked John's facial expressions when he was standing in the corner, kind of going like, "Oh shit, he's actually like showing up. He wants to fight." Like, I thought that was really good. There was a little subtle.
Yeah, this is actually happening.
Yeah, he did some subtle stuff that I liked.
I wasn't ready for this, even though I've been asking for it.
I have to tell you, the Daniel Bryan thing, I was obviously based on the sweatshirt that I'm wearing. I was really looking for, to me, and I've repeated this to death. I'm going to repeat it again because I think it's true. He's the most organic character since Stone Cold Steve Austin in this company, where the audience just started, this groundswell started, and they couldn't fight it anymore. I mean, I there were so many segments where they were trying to push like, John Cena and Randy Orton. The crowd was like, nah, we want to see Daniel Bryan. And there was obviously these plans they had in place, and they kind of just had to, especially when Batista came back, they just had to rip up the plans and go, fuck it. We're just going to, we're going to run with this Daniel Bryan thing. I really liked the reminder they showed at how mainstream it got with him. And then it was kind of taken away from us. And obviously a lot of that was, Daniel's, it was it was stuff that he was responsible for in his indie career. I mean, he just totally murdered himself on the indie scene. So by the time he, got to the WWE, he was pretty banged up, but the crowd reactions were there tonight with Daniel. No question about it. I can't say the crowd didn't give a shit, because anytime he did something, they cared and they had a response. But that match took place after The Undertaker walked out. So the audience again was a little burnt out, was a little tired. The collective,
that replaced the women's match from like 20 years ago.
Yes, it did. It really did. And it was kind of like, I kind of questioned, because like this happened also with the triple threat for the SmackDown tag titles. Usos, New Day, Bludgeon Brothers, those poor fucks. They went out there, they beat the shit out of each other, and the crowd was silent. And it was just because, guess what was before that match? Ronda Rousey beating the shit out of Stephanie. And it's just a microcosm of, and it's just, that's going to happen. And of course, noise travels differently inside of a big, dome like that. But man, that kind of felt like that happened tonight with the Daniel Bryan thing. And I was really looking forward to it. I like what I saw. I was happy they didn't do the Shane McMahon heel turn stuff. I liked that Daniels, kind of almost got taken out of the equation right away. And then they figured out a way to get him back involved. But I liked it, but I was also very aware of how iffy the crowd response was. I don't know if you noticed that tonight, Paul, or not, but that was something that was very apparent to me when the crowd reactions were there for Daniel, but the match overall, crowd was a little quiet for that one.
Well, the crowd's always there for Daniel Bryan, regardless, whether it's on SmackDown or on WrestleMania, even when he made his return tonight. But the match itself, I don't know. I didn't like it. The crowd wasn't into it. And I didn't like it not because the crowd wasn't into it. I didn't like it because I didn't like it. It just wasn't appealing to me. And yeah, the crowd, I guess it was a bad choice to put it right after the Ronda match. But, I mean, you have to put a match after that, right? So, I don't know. I didn't like it. What about you, Doug?
Oh, the whole Daniel Bryan shenanigans and stuffs?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's good, fun stuff. I'm surprised Shane had as much activity in it as he did.
Mm-hmm.
That's another unexpected part of the show. I guess also during the match itself, I like how Owens and Zayn kept on yelling at them the whole time, kind of progressing the story a little bit. But yeah, sure, the crowd was dead, but I try not to let the crowd dictate how exciting a match is supposed to be. Especially with this kind of crowd that, blew their entire wad on Ronda Rousey, and that's fine. But, this match was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. I'm shocked by the result, but of course, yeah, Owens and Zayn, they can end up going to Raw. Hell, they could go back to NXT for all we know. So, there's nothing wrong with the match. It was a nice little fun one. Was it something to hang WrestleMania's hat on? Not so much, but It was still good match to say the least.
And maybe I kind of built that one up too. I was like, "Ooh, I really want to see." And it's still surreal to see Daniel back in the ring physically doing stuff, but I don't know. I kind of got the vibe that maybe he won't be super thrilled with how that one turned out, but maybe it was a tag match, so you can't, it's a little different dance when you got a couple more people in there instead of a singles match.
But Owens is now 2-2 in terms of bad manias.
Well, maybe. I don't think necessarily anything was bad in the match, though. I just think the crowd was just really burnt out. Like, I don't think anybody screwed up, or there wasn't like botches, or there wasn't anything poorly executed. And kind of like what Doug was saying, Owens and Sami Zayn were really good, but I don't know. It just I think the crowd was just burnt out, man. Ronda Rousey just lit that place on fire, and then they had to try to follow that. So that happens a lot. I know. So I think for the most part, we've zeroed in on the stuff about the show we really liked. Obviously, there's going to be some things we don't totally like. I'll start with Doug. Was there anything on the show, production-wise, match-wise, where you were just kind of like, I could have done without that one tonight?
Oh, something that I could have done without. Well, I'm not going to count the pre-show. Pre-show doesn't count. Stuff with I'm glad there was no stupid concert. I'm glad that the WWE Hall of Fame stuff was as short as it was. Man, something that I just didn't really care for. Honestly, I don't know which clusterfuck I couldn't care about, the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
One of those two just did not belong. The start of this show being the Intercontinental title, yeah, I get the story was Miz turning over a leaf because, he brought a creature onto this planet. But that's the only story we really got. The stories that we got was that Seth loves Game of Thrones. The Miz thinks differently now that his pee-pee works. And Finn Balor listens to Coldplay now. So that's all I got from that match. Seth Rollins won the title. That big deal. Yeah. U.S. title, kind of the same thing. Holy crap, did I not care about that match at all. I just wanted to hear people chanting Rusev Day. Randy Orton doing Randy Orton things because he's Randy Orton, and no one else can do Randy Orton things because they aren't Randy Orton. Bobby Roode is Bobby Roode. Jinder Mahal hates America, and Rusev Day chants Rusev Day. Two really mediocre matches that really didn't need to be on the card, but they're filler in their belts, and because WrestleMania and everything. I really want to see this tag team championship on the Raw side, though.
Yeah, you liked that.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, you were a fan.
Yes.
Paul, anything that while you were watching the show, you were just kind of like, nah, wasn't a big fan of. I could have done without that.
I barely watched the U.S. title match, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was just, as Doug said, it was like nobody cared. I don't give a fuck about that match. And you called it. You said Jinder Mahal was going to win, and he did win.
I did. Well, not that I was like high-fiving myself in the background,
Yeah.
but.
And again, a question comes to mind here is what the fuck are they doing with Rusev? I mean, rumor was out that he was unhappy with the company. I don't know if there's any truth to that.
No, it's not true.
No.
Yeah. Well, we say not true, right?
I can tell you for a fact it's not true. But I'm with you on the well, that was a fatal 4-way, then there was a triple threat. I get so thankfully they didn't do any Towers of Doom because everybody knows how much I fucking hate those things.
Yeah, can you imagine that? There was not one Tower of Doom during the entire show.
That's a very, very, very big
Wow.
positive thumbs up for me. I was very happy about that.
Eric Rowan said, fuck the Tower of Doom in his match.
Oh,
that won my heart.
It stinks. It's one of the worst things about wrestling. I have to tell you, I was very let down by Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss.
All right, that's it. I quit. I no longer.
I wanted to like this. I wanted to really like this a lot, and I just was so let down. And I don't know if it's because of I understood the story they were trying to tell, that Nia's the giant, but you got to chop the tree down if you want to have any shot against her. But again, what match did that followed Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, which had a struggle there? So you can't say it didn't follow something that was lighting the place on fire. I don't know. It just felt like a lot of the matches in that last hour and a half to 2 hours, the crowd was just like, oh my God, we've already seen Ronda. We've seen The Undertaker. We're done. We're out of here. But I don't know, man. There's just something like the Nia crying stuff, and I know she gets emotional, and that's like the story. Maybe it's the Jonathan Coachman, like, this is for anybody that called you fat or said that you, and it was just like, oh, we're doing that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's kind of been her storyline. I get it, but I don't really think that has to be. She's to me. Here's my problem with Nia. You look at her, she's already different than everybody in the roster. That makes her interesting to me right away. You don't have to go into like the fat shaming stuff for me to want to like. I see her. I'm like, oh wow, she's just. This is going to be different. This is going to be fun. And I don't know, like her freaking out backstage about someone calling her fat. I'm just like, well, okay. I don't know. I just wasn't.
Well, it's not freaking out about calling her fat.
No,
it's freaking out about using her.
Using her, yes, exactly. But they definitely are doing the fat shaming stuff, which I just don't. I don't know if that's needed. But I was a little let down by the match. They got a little slow, and then they just kind of did. It felt very TNA-ish, where I just finish it and okay, we're done. Wasn't a big fan of that. Also, Alexa Bliss kept doing this with her hand every time she would do her little Bliss pose, and I was just like, okay, seeing it like every single move she was trying to execute, she would twirl her hand doing her little Bliss pose, and that was a little annoying after a while. But I'm trying to think outside of that, though. I mean, I think obviously some of the guys just had a problem. I agree with Paul. I thought Charlotte and Asuka was awesome. Was very impressed with that. Charlotte's entrance was just awesome. Like, just very big star quality. We got a great photo up on our Instagram and Twitter from Andrew Fisher, who was in attendance, and he was taking some good photos for us of that. But I thought they had a much better match than Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax did. I guess the other thing that struck me, I know, Doug, you were responding to some of my comments just now about that match. It's the vitriol at which we've heard why women belong on the card, on the main card, and how this was probably the first WrestleMania ever that so many women were on the card tonight. So when they finally get it, the crowd is just kind of like looking at their smartphones and not really paying attention. So when I have to listen to that all year of like, God damn it, these girls need to be on this card. It's an important show. There's a championship. This needs to be important. And then when the match happens, nobody cares.
Well, I guess the problem is, I don't know if it's twofold, but one is you shouldn't be listening to people that are trying to get other people to be on the show when you know good and damn well they're not going to pay attention to it anyway. Okay? It's been done for the test since the annals of time. When it comes to pro wrestling, when they finally say, hey, they need to push this guy or they need to push that person, and they finally get up there and they're tossing a beach ball around. It happens all the time. Okay, by God, CM Punk, Chris Jericho. Yeah. So there's that. Okay, my problem, and it's not a problem, I thought the Alexa Bliss Nia Jax match was fantastic. I thought it was a great match just because it fit perfectly into the crowd, the niche audience that they are trying to attract, and the storyline with that match. I think the big thing that I have is, I'm basically saying that if you couldn't identify with the storyline that they were doing, then no, you probably, if you're thinking too much into wrestling with this match, then you're not probably going to latch on to this. This was a match that if I had someone who's never watched pro wrestling before, brought them in, this match is happening. How do I describe Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss to them, who's never watched wrestling before? Why is this match happening? Sure, it's for a title, but why is it happening? And all I got to tell them is the small, cute girl used the big girl to get what she wanted. And then it was revealed, and the big girl has found out that the little girl is using her. That's it. That's all you got to do. And it ropes them in perfectly. I would if it's between that match and the Asuka Charlotte match, and the Asuka Charlotte match was great too. How do you describe that to someone who's never watched wrestling before? Japanese girl is undefeated. The other girl is Ric Flair's daughter. Okay, that's it. And it's for a title. Something's going to give. Okay? They were both great matches that you could easily bring anyone into the fold to and describe to them what's happening and try to bring them in. How the fuck do you think I felt during the tag team triple threat match when Xavier Woods summoned Pancake People?
Yeah, that was a little weird.
How the fuck do I my girlfriend walked into the room when that happened. And she looked at me. I looked at her. We looked at the TV, and she just looked at me like, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
That's a hard one to explain. There's always those moments where you're always afraid someone's going to walk in the room and you're like, how do I talk about it?
Had to explain the Jason Jordan illegitimate son angle to Kurt Angle to her when she walked into the room.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing about pro wrestling that really makes it great is when you bring more people into the fold and everyone has fun. And it's got to be simple. It's got to be simple. Okay. It cannot be Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa shit. Okay. Even though that was a great match last night. Yeah. But I will take this show over that any time because I know I can have 15 friends around me and we can enjoy what we're watching.
Well, that's, and I get that, and I totally understand where you're coming from with that, where the least amount of time it takes you to explain something generally makes the most sense, and I totally get that. I just feel like the execution with Nia has been weird. It has been weird. First, she's been this like monster heel. Now all of a sudden she's crying because someone called her fat. It's like, okay.
Well, she lost credibility there.
It's a little weird.
When I saw her cry, I'm like, no, she's not. She's not the tough.
Well, can you remember the first time you ever had a friend, Paul? Didn't you kind of like get a little feminine inside and not be such a hard ass the whole time? Come on.
Get a little emotional. Do you want to cry a little bit there? That's not. There was a hot take from Jamel Watson, I believe, who is predicting Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, possibly as soon as next year. So,
Okay.
could be. That could. I know a lot of people have pointed that one out, so that's an interesting hot take there. Give me some hot takes, everybody. Bring in the hot takes in the chat because we'll be reading some more of those. I want to switch over to something Jason Amico just tossed up on Wrestleview about the show tonight, breaking some records. They announced that the event grossed $14.1 million, which surpasses the venue's previous record of $10.9 million back in 2014 and the Superdome. Sold-out crowd of 78,133 fans from all 50 states and 67 countries. So they're going ahead. I guess among the top 10 of all time, it comes in at number 6 overall. WrestleMania 32 in Dallas was still number 1 with attendance. If you want to go by attendance records, I'm sure that would differ if you total up all the revenue, because that's kind of what matters at the end of the day. Although I think there was something. Deadspin was going after the 93,000 figure at the Pontiac Silverdome, saying that there's actually weren't 93,000 people, but that is kind of like folklore. Like when I watched the Andre the Giant documentary, they definitely re-emphasized the 93,000 figure, but a lot of people have a lot of butthurt about that it's not actually 93,000, but I don't know. That's a big deal to some people.
Yeah, you weren't alive then. Shut up.
Exactly. Some hot takes in the chat. Goose said, stop with the CGI. So some people were not liking the CGI stuff. So they did it during Miz's entrance, Asuka's entrance. They did like the crazy graphical Asuka mask. I remember some other spots they did it with, but it's technology that's existed on sports presentation for a long time, where they'll just superimpose something on a football, field or a basketball court or something. It's not like new technology, but Doug was noticing all the 3D cameras that they have out at ringside. They have stuff propped up on the barricades and on the corners, the turnbuckle areas. So they're going balls deep on virtual reality, whether you like it or not. They actually presented something with a company recently, so that's a goal of theirs. They want to get into that. Hot take from Shifty Gizm says Lesnar won to break CM Punk's streak. What streak are they talking about with CM Punk? Oh, with how long he's held the title?
Title
but that's not the same title. He has the Universal Championship. Punk had the WWE.
But it's still a championship.
To me, it's a brand new title that they've created for a brand. So, I mean, that the Universal Championship didn't exist till Kevin Owens won it for the first, or Finn did technically when he got injured. So,
only 4 title holders for that belt.
Yeah. John Blue says, hot take, does the attendance number count Cena or not? That's a very funny point. Another hot take from Goose. He's wondering if Frank might be dead. Oh, because Roman lost, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Hot take from Hunter Golden. They pulled the plug on Reigns Brock during the. Oh, so there's conspiracy theories. I've been seeing this on Twitter.
There's a big conspiracy theory going around right now.
That they had the intention of Roman, and then halfway through went, we're gonna pitch it back to Brock. We're gonna stick with Brock Lesnar for the time being. But that's gonna be fun for the internet to play with for a while. Jamel Watson with a hot take. Miz versus Bryan for the main event next year. Story is built in, and both guys as performers would crush it. I don't know about main event, but I would 100% agree with you that a WrestleMania match would be worthy, because holy shit did those guys go back and forth on talking smack. So that's, you're right. It's ready to go. I don't know if that's main event status, but
I just want a grudge match between the two. I don't want it over a stupid belt.
Just a grudge match? Yeah.
Yeah, just a grudge match. Like, one of the two is going after a title and the other one just comes in and ruins it for him, and it's just a really big blood feud. Something like that. That
could be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Daniel Shell says, hot take, Nicholas has been tested for PEDs.
Tainted Flintstones vitamins is what Kayfabe News is saying.
I was going to... That's funny. I was going to comment on that, but if I find out that kid's like a Make-A-Wish kid, then I'm going to feel like an asshole.
No, I will. I'll tell you who he is.
Who is
he? A referee's son or something,
yeah,
right?
John Cone's son.
So that picture you tweeted out just now? Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is referee John Cone's son.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not some cancer-riddled kid. It's not some big donor to the company's kid or anything like that. It's a ref's kid.
All right.
What's wrong with that? And then what they'll do, what I really would love for them to do with this is every town Braun tours in, he goes out in the audience and picks a kid to be his partner.
I will give.
What is wrong with this?
Could
someone please tell me why this is such a bad idea? Why?
Could you do this on a B pay-per-view though, and not WrestleMania?
Fuck no.
Like, wouldn't it have been more fun to have Braun just beat up both of these dudes and just say, "I'm the tag team champions by myself," and I don't know why you need a prop with him to do this.
No, it's not the prop. It's imagine this. Imagine you're a child watching WrestleMania right now.
Okay.
And you saw this giant creature pull a kid that you can identify with, and you're 10 years old, by the way, watching this. Pulls a 10-year-old kid your age, brings him out there, and makes them tag with him, where they're just standing there, and they get to hold this massive belt into the air after the match for doing nothing. Okay? Do you not think that they are going to sell a fuck ton of tickets to their house shows now? How many kids are going to be showing up at their events now? Okay? Seriously. Anyone who thinks that this is a bad idea needs to find out if their genitalia works, if they can have these creatures themselves.
Can you think that it's not a, like, I get your point, but can you also think that I just didn't really like it? Like, I didn't walk away from that thinking that was great. I was just like, okay.
You were just bored by it because there wasn't enough action in it, because it was just a squash match.
But I also, there was someone who tweeted at me, and it was a fair point, that you didn't want to try to, set the place on fire before the main event too. So, I mean, it was kind of a nice lull. It was a good lull. I liked what Hunter just said in the chat. He said that his hot take was the best internet moment of the night was Wikipedia listing Nicholas as Big Dick Nick. so that was a wonderful observation there. So he is the son of, what was the referee again?
John Cone.
John Cone. Okay, there's
chances are Nicholas is not going to be on Raw tomorrow. It's just going to be Braun Strowman, and something's going to happen. And
yeah,
the kid's going to be at school tomorrow. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. It is in New Orleans though. I'm looking at some other hot takes here. Let's see. Hot take from Grash: Adam has no soul, because I didn't like this. Let's see. What else do we got here? Hot takes from, well, no one's putting hot takes in front of their messages, so I'm getting confused.
Oh, so, I love that one.
Well, Roy brought up a good point earlier when they were chanting in the main event, "This is awful."
Yeah.
Was it because of Roman Reigns getting 5 F5s and kicking out?
Maybe.
It was just because it was a Roman Reigns match.
Probably.
That's all.
It wasn't because
they weren't paying attention to the whole match anyway. They were paying attention to shit happening in their own crowd.
Yeah, they were distracted.
Okay, they were distracted by themselves. That's what they do.
very angry as wrestling fans.
Yeah, yeah.
So I take it Doug's angry because Roman didn't walk out as champion?
I'm just angry because people couldn't enjoy this show.
Yeah, people are very angry when they.
I enjoyed the show, but I can comment on a few matches.
Oh no, that's fine. It's just the people that were there live at the show didn't enjoy this show.
Yeah, very angry. Not sure why. Why would you buy? Especially with how much they're paying. Think about like airfare, hotel, food, tickets, access. They went to NXT in the Hall of Fame. Maybe they're going to Raw tomorrow night. Can you imagine chanting that and being that angry about it?
Yeah.
Hot take from Jason Amico. Braun winning was solely to give him a win, and Mania tag titles will be held up, tournament to commence.
Oh, God.
Maybe.
No.
Hot take from John Blues said if you were going to go that route with the mystery partner, it should have been much earlier on the card. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think it was. I get the point about sticking it out there before the main event because Braun is very popular right now. Andrew,
I like Hunter's comment.
What did Hunter say?
Big Dick Nick versus Paige.
Yeah, speaking of Paige, Andrew Elder said hot take Paige sounded like she took a downer on the pre-show. She's I'm going to be very careful how I word this. I'm a little concerned about Paige. Just the way she looks physically, the way her voice sounds, her mannerisms. It's very it's odd. Like when I was looking at her at the Hall of Fame, she was kind of obviously I don't want to make any accusations and put my foot in my mouth, but it's a little strange. It's on.
She's trying to find substitutes.
Looks that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little
little
interesting there with Paige.
And for the third time, we saw their little promo for that little movie that they have going with her, the closer she gets, the weirder she looks.
Yeah, that promo's strange how they have her just going like, "Hi everybody, I'm Paige and here's my movie," but her voice is
I'm waiting for her like left eyelid to twitch or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little,
I'm waiting for her to like, twitch around or something like that, and I don't know.
Is she just kind of fucked for life because of the fact that we can just go on like Pornhub and see what her butthole looks like now? Like, do we just have like? Is that what we're gonna?
Stuff like that is supposed to augment your career.
Well, according to her, it was like the biggest thing for her.
Well, it was terrible.
She's
for
still
her.
not over it.
Yeah, she had mental breakdown. I think she said she had to hospitalize herself because it was, and I can't. I mean, that would suck. That would totally suck. But I feel like that's gonna follow her around now. Like that's just, it's just how it is. I mean, that's the other. We were talking about the power of the internet, Doug. That one, oof, I mean, that was on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
my hard drive.
Your hard drive as well. Yeah, no, that one's gonna follow you around, unfortunately. But
we didn't know it would affect her speech that poorly.
And now she can't. And Jamel made the point in the chat that she can't wrestle now. She got fucked up a couple months ago, and now her career could be done in the ring. So they're obviously making her fulfill her contractual obligations. But, I don't know about that. That's
I don't know how to put this any more succinctly, but these were all choices that she made.
Yeah.
So I'm very sorry, but
well said.
I only have so much empathy. I'm sorry. Sorry.
She was young though.
I got none.
I try to keep that in mind though. When someone's that young and makes poor decisions, you kind of have to go like, well, they're not really.
If you're playing an adult world now, you need to act like an adult.
It's a lesson learned, I'm sure, for her. But
yeah, I think
it's a big one. That's a big lesson to learn, unfortunately. Got a lot of hot takes coming in. Anthony Jokey says, "Hot take: I never want to hear Beth on commentary." Yeah, I kind of opened my mouth and said something similar.
After hearing Paige, I need to hear more Beth.
I didn't go to. Well, yeah, that's a fair point.
She took offense to that. Well, she didn't actually. She
didn't take offense to what I said. What I said on Twitter a couple weeks ago is I have no idea what Beth Phoenix adds to commentary on the Mixed Match Challenge. So she vanity searched her name on Twitter like the Young Bucks did with me. I'd never tagged the Young Bucks, but one of them vanity searched themselves and blocked me because of it. But surprisingly, she took it in stride. She said, next time, tag me on the tweet so I know I can improve. Keep in mind, I'm brand new to this commentary thing. So I said, okay, fair point. Of course, the followers of her are not as nice as she is. So they decided to come after us on Twitter, which I didn't really engage too much with a lot of those people. Because that's just, you have a better opportunity just running into a wall and having more fun doing that than trying to have a genuine discussion on Twitter. But yeah, she's for now she's done. I mean, she was only doing Mixed Match Challenge. They brought her out for the I loved tonight during the Women's Battle Royal where she would say, yeah, I just talked to Mickie James and she has like, the most experience about anybody. And then she would get tossed out, and anybody she would try to like put over would immediately get tossed out. And the second time it happened, Corey Graves was like audibly laughing on commentary and going, well, Beth, I don't know if we should be zeroing in on any of these people because every time you bring them up, you're giving them bad luck and they get tossed out and eliminated from the match. But yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that one. Anything on that? Did you guys watch the kickoff show, or did you guys pretty much pass on it since it was going to be so much content tonight?
I was busy tossing quarters down the sewer.
Down the sewer. Or you were preparing on Wrestleview and stressing everybody out like we always do. I will say this was my first. I told Paul this earlier today. I said, I'm going to make a conscious decision to not allow this day to stress me out, because this day, and Paul knows what I'm talking about as I'm saying this because he would probably echo these sentiments. These days are so busy for us behind the scenes of Wrestleview. Not only the stuff you're seeing on the website, but behind the scenes too. It's just nerve-wracking. But I made a decision that I was just going to kind of chill out tonight, and I've been pretty mellow tonight. I've enjoyed that aspect of it. So I think I'm going to. Although next year we're all going to Mania though, so that could be a bad idea to try to remain mellow because we're all going to be there, and it's who's going to be doing results on Wrestleview, Paul? Who's going to be posting?
It's going to be us in the fucking press box.
I hope so. We'll figure it out, but that's going to be fun. Anthony Jokey says, hot take, Wrestleview is going to destroy New York City next year. Are they going with the New York, even though that the stadium's in East Rutherford, New Jersey? Are they still saying
100%?
They're saying New York. They're going to.
It's marketing.
It's marketing.
I mean, would you want to advertise New Jersey or New York? Come on.
Probably.
Oh, that's a knock to Mike.
It's a knock to Mike and Jason too. There you go.
Yeah, come to WrestleMania 22 in Rosemont. Come on.
I know they don't say Rosemont. Yeah, we were in Chicago for that WrestleMania that year.
Yes, we were.
But yeah, we're all going to be there next year. So we're Wrestleview Con #1. I'd like to organize something and put something together. I think that would be fun. We'll make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything? Let's check in on the poll. I know. Doug hates these polls. He's not a fan, but
I so fucking hate them.
He just thinks they stink.
Everyone who says thumbs in the middle just has no balls at all.
You. I would give this show a thumbs up for me. I haven't voted yet, but I will. But I'm going to give it a thumbs up. But right now, that's winning with 52% of the vote. 36% thumbs in the middle, 12% thumbs down. So I guess since I gave my vote, Douglas, what's your vote? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Oh, it's thumbs up.
Thumbs up? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely thumbs up.
Thoughts, opinions, elaborate?
Elaborate on why it's thumbs up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it had the unexpected.
I know. I always forget your grading mechanism that you use. Is would I go back and watch anything?
Yeah, when I go back and watch this, can I think of one or two matches that, damn, I remember this match. What pay-per-view was it on? That means it was a good pay-per-view. Okay, that you can remember something specifically from it. You go, you know what? I'm going to hop on the WWE Network and queue up this pay-per-view and watch this one or two or three things. That were from that, because that was really cool. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that happened with this WrestleMania. So I would absolutely give it thumbs up. This is definitely replayable. This is definitely rewatchable.
Mr. Nemmer, thumbs up, thumbs down for you tonight.
Double thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. I think there was 6 matches on the card that I liked, that entertained me. And the other matches didn't. So that's over 50%. And overall, it was a great show. And those 6 matches, in no particular order, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, I still liked it, even though I predicted it. The Braun Strowman match, AJ Styles, Nakamura. Undertaker, John Cena, I liked it, but I disagreed with it. And Charlotte Flair and Asuka.
Okay. Another question I have, you went to WrestleMania the year that they ran MetLife Stadium. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being your balls were sucking back into your body, how cold were you when you were at that stadium that night?
It was fucking cold. It was really fucking cold. I'm surprised. I mean, I wanted them to do it next year at WrestleMania in East Rutherford, but it's going to be fucking cold. Bring your scarf, your gloves, bring a fucking winter coat. It's going to be like Colorado all over again for you.
So I looked at, well, it's colder actually in Iowa than in Colorado. Paul always, for some reason, thinks when I lived in Colorado that it was colder than here. I don't know.
I always think you live in the fucking...
I live in the middle of nowhere. Where it just snowed 4 inches tonight during WrestleMania. It's fucking ridiculous. I was looking at the weather here. Actually, let me zoom in a little bit here so you can get an idea. Right now, East Rutherford is 33 degrees Fahrenheit. So for Paul, that is 1 degree Celsius. It does warm up though. Like, look at that. This Friday is supposed to be 75 degrees. So it's like you just get the slight hint of winter in this first week of April. WrestleMania 35 next year is on April 9th, I want to say. I don't remember the date. Someone will correct me. But, yeah, it's going to be a little cold.
But that's during the day. It'll be at night, honey.
I know. It's going to be very
cold.
So
53 degrees is what you should be looking at there, dear.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. I don't like it.
It's cold. And it was windy. Last year, it wasn't just cold. It was fucking windy.
Yeah.
I was there with Mike, and the wind's just like... I couldn't even have a conversation with Mike.
Well, fuck, take your toque and a flask of scotch. You'll be fine.
Or don't go to Mania, right?
Well, yeah. we could not attend it, but we have to attend the show. Why else would we be out there?
I gotta go to this. I mean, come on.
Maybe I could get us a nice warm box seat. Maybe I could talk us into getting some of those.
Maybe I'll sit on Mike. That'll keep me warm.
Sit on Mike's lap. I could sit on Paul's lap. We could just have
talk about the first thing that pops up.
Exactly. Yeah. We could just all cuddle and have some hot cocoa and enjoy us some Men in Stretchy Pants. I think it'd be a fun time. So
there's nothing wrong with enjoying WrestleMania with some warm cuddling. Okay,
I'd be fine with it. It's totally cool with me if that's what
it's honestly been a dream of mine.
To cuddle with Paul or cuddle with Mike or cuddle with me?
No, just to cuddle with anyone on our Wrestleview staff.
Just in general?
I think Doug into
just in general,
just some cuddles. Yeah. Just
what Doug meant to say was orgy.
Well, that too, but you got to wait for the show to finish, and then you got to have some booze, and
Yeah, you got to get
work up to
liquored
that
up
one,
first,
yeah.
and then you got to get happy.
Exactly. We got super liquored up in Miami, Doug. I remember fucking Doug kept bailing to get some scotches, and they would sell them. Those are pretty expensive too. But you were like, after Punk and Jericho, you're like, I need a fucking scotch, man. I
needed to get one after that one, man. That I needed to numb myself.
That was quite the time.
The prices weren't bad. No, the prices weren't bad for it. I had Johnny Black, and it was about 10.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, it was 10 a pop. It's fine.
Not too bad. All right.
That Miller Lite piss that you were drinking. I don't know what the hell that was.
I was not drinking Miller Lite. I was drinking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it Coronas?
Corona. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Adam likes his beer.
I like Corona. What's wrong with Corona? Why do people have such a problem with that beer? Is it
There's
because
nothing wrong with Corona whatsoever.
Well,
it's
I
just
remember
that when I want to drink and I want to have fun, I don't drink beer.
I want to be cheap.
And I remember Doug looking at me and goes, any beer that has to have a piece of fruit in it is terrible and not worth your time. He was just like yelling this in the atrium at the stadium. We were
just bringing attention to them.
Yeah, I was like, oh, thanks, Doug. Guess I'll just go over here and drink my Corona. That's fine. Yeah, I do get called Vin Diesel a lot. Jamel brought that up in the chat. That does happen. So that's going to do it for us tonight. We've spent a decent amount of time talking about WrestleMania. We will be back tomorrow night after Raw goes off the air, because traditionally that is the most obnoxious crowd all year for that show, and things happen.
We'll go ahead and bitch about them.
Yes.
Surprises and brand switch.
There's surprises. Douglas, I want to say you were not going to join us tomorrow night unless I'm mistaken.
Oh, I might not, unless I just decide to bomb or something.
Okay, well, Paul and myself will be here. I think Roy is going to jump in with us, so we'll be here tomorrow night though, regardless. So
I might bomb and say the "I told you so" AOP was going to show up.
Oh, that's your prediction? Authors of Pain from NXT shows up.
Yes, that is my prediction.
Okay, any predictions?
It's either AOP or Almas showing up.
Okay, because he just lost the title. I have to thank some of these subscribers too, by the way. I keep forgetting to do that. They've been popping in. Let me get some of these up here. We had HK Mania, Thomas Riley, James Carter, Gregory. I think that's everybody that's been coming in here. And then someone just popped up just now. So sorry if I missed you, but we're trying to get them. We try to catch you. Jamel Watson's tossing out Bobby Lashley because he's no longer under contract to TNA. Same thing with Alberto El Patron or Del Rio. He's no longer under contract either. So
I do cocaine.
I do cocaine. Yeah, that's our little call out there for one Del Rio.
I think he no-showed on purpose.
Well, he was
on purpose. I mean, for the reason to be there tomorrow.
It's very possible.
You never know.
He was at the headquarters earlier this month, so we'll see. And his deal was already expiring anyway. So
here's $40K. Don't show and just show up on Raw. You'll get fired.
And what's funny though is when his name gets brought up, everyone's like, "Well, what is that guy at?" Like I remember last night we talked about that, and I always see it in like the comments, and a lot of people not fans of Alberto, they're ready to move on from that dude. So I don't think that would go over too well with people.
Well, they gave him too many chances anyway.
Oh, well, quite a bit. They tried. They did their best. All right, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow night after Raw. That will be our third podcast in a row. We did a show after NXT TakeOver last night, discussing that show and the Hall of Fame and some news with Douglas, myself, Mike Tedesco, and Paul's brother, Roy Nemmer. So we'll be back tomorrow after Raw to keep breaking it down. So thank you for choosing to listen to us or watch us. Of course, you can listen to the audio version of this podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Just look up Wrestleview Media. And then, of course, we would love it if you would subscribe to us here on YouTube. Look up Wrestleview, Wrestleview Radio, Wrestleview Live, whatever you'll find us. Subscribe to us, and we appreciate that. So thank you also for joining us for coverage on Wrestleview, because I got a message from Paul where you basically implied that I'm going to shit my pants when I see what kind of traffic we did tonight. So that's good for me. This is where I need the Vince McMahon money gif there for being super greedy. Paul's like, don't talk about money. I don't want to talk about this right now. he's backing out of his chair, but no, it's good for us because it helps us generate some revenue for the website, because it's not cheap, right, Paul? Not cheap to run this website.
Not fucking cheap at all.
No, it's not cheap. Not in the slightest.
It costs an arm and a leg to run a website.
Yeah, the more traffic you get, the more money you got to spend, which nobody tells you when you get into this.
Let's just say the hosting is like a fucking mortgage.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's a little pricey there. A little pricey. People don't think about that. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Wow, a lot of you stuck around very late tonight. It's going on 2 o'clock a little after 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So for those of you that stuck around, we really appreciate that. If you're watching us on the archive, thank you as well. Wrestleview Media on SoundCloud and iTunes, or search Wrestleview Radio, Wrestleview, or Wrestleview Live on YouTube and subscribe to us. So that's going to do it for us. Douglas, any parting shots? Any WrestleMania parting shots?
Oh, no, not at all. Just everyone just enjoy stuff and just try to have fun once in a while. Don't take everything so seriously.
Paul, parting shots?
Nothing really. Just question to both of you. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn on Raw tomorrow, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, they're walking out on that show. They're going to sign a contract. Absolutely. I totally agree. Absolutely.
And Kurt Angle is getting fired.
You think Kurt Angle's getting fired?
Oh, sure. Why not?
The Miz is going on SmackDown. That's what I think.
Oh, well, I'm hoping for some roster shakeups. I think we're ready for that. I think we're, especially now that all the pay-per-views are going to be combined, starting with Backlash in a few weeks. So,
and that it was Colonel Mustard in the observatory with the pipe wrench.
Yes, that too.
That's my other prediction.
That's your other prediction. Thank you, Douglas. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow night back here on YouTube Live after Monday Night Raw. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.